Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Today we need to sow some summer veggie seeds, but first let's feed the birds and the squirrels. The flower ring is so green. The snowflakes in the middle are in full bloom. We have a few paper whites, and I'm excited to see the first iris is opening. My favorite flower. It's still spring break, so I've set up this privacy screen. Today is April 11th, and I want to winter sow Black Beauty eggplant, my favorite variety. It has a very mild skin, and it's a good-sized, soft flesh variety. I like to sow 10 to 12 weeks before my last frost, but here in north central Maryland, in growing zone 6B, 7A, I can start my eggplant seeds all of April because I don't transplant them out until after Mother's Day. I like this growing guide put out by my Maryland Extension Office. Maybe your Extension Office has something similar too. These are heirloom seeds. They're originally from Baker Creek, but these are my own saved seeds. That's the benefit of heirlooms. They're going to grow the same variety each time you plant them. You can winter sow your eggplant starting in February, but I like to wait until April in case they germinate in a heat spell and then we get a freeze and they die. Want to save a milk or a water jug for winter sowing, cut it open but leave a hinge and fill it with moistened soil. Sprinkle your seeds on there. You're going to close this and tape it up. I'm going to put 3 seeds together, go back later and thin them. Eggplant germinate when the soil temperature is between 70 and 80 degrees. The benefit of winter sowing is when the soil hits that temperature inside the jug, the seeds will germinate, but they'll still be protected. When I sow these in the house, they tend to germinate in 10 to 20 days. They do require patience. Sometimes might germinate in 7 days. I'll include in the next video how long they took to germinate last year so we can compare. Eggplant like warm weather. They grow best when nighttime temperatures are above 60. Here in north central Maryland, like I said, we don't plant them until after Mother's Day. So wait 2 to 4 weeks until after your last frost. I've found 4 weeks is really best. Black Beauty is a 1902 classic variety. It tends to be around 6 inches. This variety is as old as my house. I grow most of my own vegetables here in the heart of the city. Notice the sirens? I can grow a lot of food in this small space. A big benefit of winter sowing is it doesn't require lights or electricity. I'm also going to start eggplant seeds in trays under lights on heat mats in the garage, and then we can compare the results. Last year, we only did winter sowing. If you're thinking about growing Black Beauty eggplant, think about spacing. They require 18 to 24 inches apart because they get 24 to 36 inches tall and wide. Mine tend to grow that big. They're going to do best if you follow the spacing recommendations. If you plant more than one row, space them out 24 to 36 inches from each other. I used to crowd my plants, but I learned I was more successful, I had healthier plants, bigger and more fruit if I followed spacing recommendations. It's hard to do, but do you want to know my number one gardening rule? Enjoy your garden. If you want to crowd your plants, go ahead. You'll learn what works for you. Enjoy the gardening process. Try not to get overwhelmed and stressed. That's easy to do in the springtime. Eggplant require full sun. So make sure you give them a sunny place because they're from the sunny Mediterranean. Because they come from a drier area of the world, they prefer deep watering but less often. So don't keep the soil continually moist because your roots might rot. My biggest pest with eggplant are flea beetles. They actually hatch from your soil. And the way I control them best is I net my eggplant and I add inside that net yellow sticky paper. The bigger the plant when you plant them, the better they survive. So it's good to plant your transplants at about 8 inches. I don't always follow that, so we'll see what I do this year. I have 10 groupings of seeds, and we need to tape up the jug and put it out in the garden to germinate. Oops. First, we have to put on a thin layer of soil, about 1/4 of an inch, and pat it in well. It needs to make that moisture contact with the seeds. Last year, we used this strong, sticky Gorilla duct tape on all the jugs, but wow, was it hard to get off. But we know this one works. For the onions, we tried this athletic tape because we're trying a variety of tapes this year. Don't use this one. As soon as it rained and got wet, it started peeling off. On the cabbages, we used just the traditional silver duct tape. It's less strong, but it's working. Today, we're going to use just regular old packing tape. I suspect it's not going to be the best, but we're going to see. Make sure your jug has drainage holes. I've found an ice pick is best, but of course, be careful. Make sure to take off the lid. We need rain to get in and excessive heat to get out. And let's put this out in the garden. When it's ready, it will germinate. And I do make sure to write the name on the jug and the date. And use a garden marker. They're designed not to fade in the sun. A Sharpie won't last. And every day, check to see if they need watering. I lift them up. Let's lift up the onions. It feels heavy and it still looks moist. But if I need to water, don't pour it in the top. It's going to erode the soil. What's best is bottom watering. Pour some water in a little tray and let the soil soak up the moisture, maybe about an hour. So bottom watering is best. It's time to start hardening off the red onions. We're going to open them up for 2 hours today in the shade. I have a shelf set up on the patio with a net to protect them from digging squirrels. You can transplant your onions 3 to 4 weeks before your last frost. Here in North Central Maryland, that's the full month of April. We're 2 weeks before our last frost here. It's a windy day, so I still have time. This week, I slowly want to harden them off. See how sticky that tape is? And be careful because these jugs can have some sharp edges. It would be wise to wear gloves. We sowed these seeds March 19th and they germinated March 31st in 12 days. Since today's April 11th, that means these are 12 days old. Let's put them on the shelf, open for 2 hours to get used to the wind and the sun. Today's definitely a windy day. After 2 hours, we'll close them up and tape them using this painter's tape because it will be easy to get off tomorrow. And we'll put them back out in the garden overnight. Tomorrow, we'll open them for 2 hours in the shade and move them for 2 hours in the sun, then close them up. Remember, the variety is an heirloom. Red Weathersfield onions, named for a town in Connecticut. It's a very old variety from the 1700s. And since they're heirloom, I can save my own seeds. Now let's harden off red cabbage. Plant your red cabbage 2 to 4 weeks before your last frost. It's time here. I can plant cabbage mid-March to mid-April, and since it's April 11th, we are cutting it close. The silver duct tape was much easier to get off than the Gorilla tape, but wow, it had really broken down. Wow, they sure are beautiful. Remember, we sowed them March 19th. They germinated March 26th in 7 days, right? Let me check. Yep, 7 days. So since today's April 11th, these are 16 days old. Let's put them on the shelf. We're going to open them for 2 hours in the shade because they're not ready yet for the sun. And the net is critical because the white cabbage butterflies will lay their eggs and the worms will hatch and just consume these leaves. People think to protect their cabbages while they're growing, but it's important to protect the seedlings too. This is an old, really big blueberry netting. It fits over this shelf. Before I go in the house, I will make sure to secure the bottom too. So they'll stay open 2 hours today. Then we'll tape them back up using the painter's tape so it's easy to take off tomorrow, and then put them back in the garden. Tomorrow, we'll leave them open 2 hours on the shelf and then 2 hours in the sun, and then put them back in the garden and slowly increase the time every day. Now let's sow our Black Beauty eggplant in trays. We're going to put them in the garage on heat mats under lights. You can start your seeds 4 weeks before your last frost. Here in Maryland, that means I can sow eggplant seeds under lights inside the whole month of April. Our last freeze tends to be at the end of April. I really like to start them 10 to 12 weeks before my last frost because, like I said, I like big plants. I have 36 cells. I'm going to put 3 seeds in each, but later I will thin them down to 1 seedling per cell. Like I said before, eggplant seeds germinate in 10 to 20 days. I have the most success when I use a heat mat. I definitely need that heat mat this year in the cold garage, but even when I start them indoors in my house, I still use that heat mat. Sometimes they germinate in just 7 days. Now we need to cover this with 1/4 of an inch of soil, moist soil, and pat them in well. Then we're going to cover them with a heat dome, a greenhouse dome. This will hold in the moisture and the heat. Let's bring them to the garage. The heat mat stays on 24 hours a day. The lights are on a timer, 12 hours on and 12 hours off. Here's the heat mat. Here's the lights. And here's the timer. Check them every day to make sure they don't dry out. They shouldn't with that dome on, but especially after you take it off, after they germinate, if you have to add water, bottom watering is best. Now it's time to harden off these red onions. We also sowed them March 19th. They germinated March 26th in 7 days. Don't plant your seedlings directly into the garden. They need time to get used to the weather, the sun, and the wind in a protected area to begin with. So we're also going to put them on the shelf near the house. They'll be out there 2 hours today, and the net will also protect them from these digging squirrels. After 2 hours, we'll put them back in the garage on the heat mat under the lights. And tomorrow, they'll also harden off 4 hours, 2 hours in the shade and 2 hours in the sun. And every day increase that time. We've sown our eggplant 2 ways. We're hardening off our winter sown cabbage and both of our onions. Now it's time for a lunch break with Dale. We'll see if it's too cold up on the balcony. Two hours are up. It's time to tape up the onions and get them back into the garden. This doesn't need to be as secure because it only needs to stay on until tomorrow. Now let's get them back into the garden. Did you notice I finished sheet mulching the berries? Time to close up the red cabbage too and get it back into the garden. Do you see all the June-bearing strawberry blossoms? They'll ripen in May. Exciting. The raspberry shoots I potted up 8 days ago are still alive. They do need water. I'm going to let them grow for about a month to develop roots, then share them with my neighbors. Soon my neighbors' roses are going to be in bloom. And my other neighbor's jasmine is about to burst forth in beautiful white fragrant flowers, my favorite. And my neighbor's tulips sure look good. The June-bearing strawberries I moved from the garden over into the greenstock planters are still alive and have so many blossoms. The pile of cardboard is gone, and I've hung up the bunting. I think it looks good. Thank you for visiting Withrow Urban Homestead. See you later. Bye-bye.